Hello, I'm Regis Tremblay. Peter Woodruff and I went down to the People's Climate March in New York City on Sunday, September 21st. We were on 10 buses from Maine, along with nearly 600 Mainers. Bob Klotz and friends from 350 Maine even made the 5-day trip on bicycles and camped out along the way, making their own statement about pedal power versus fossil fuel power. Billed as the largest climate march in history, we were among an estimated crowd of at least 100,000. Some estimates were as high as 300 to 400,000. All in all, 37 buses and trains from all over the country converged on New York City for this historic march. They came from as far away as California on the West Coast, from Kansas and Nebraska, Iowa and Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, the District of Columbia, New York State, and all of New England. Noticeably absent was the mainstream media, in what I consider a gross violation of the media's responsibility to inform citizens. Not one of the Sunday morning political talk shows even mentioned the march because their sponsors are BP, Shell, Chevron, ConocoPhillips, and ExxonMobil, and because the stations are owned by corporations heavily invested in oil, war, and our economic system of capitalism. And make no mistake about it, this worldwide populist uprising is in a fight against capitalism and the fossil fuel industry. The message of the march was loud and clear. We have to take global warming seriously immediately. When the nation-states of the developed world have known about climate change for decades and have done nothing to prevent it, while most people understand it is real and that humans are the main cause along with our entire capitalist system of consumption. The 2.2-mile march began forming around 8 a.m. at Columbus Circle, proceeded to Times Square, and then on to the far west side, and it lasted for nearly 7 hours by the time the last marchers crossed the finish line. We were simultaneously joined by hundreds of thousands of others in 166 countries, taking part in over 2,800 separate events, including Indonesia, Burundi, Berlin, Brussels, the Czech Republic, London, New Delhi, Paris, Rio de Janeiro, and Canada. This was one of the largest popular mass mobilizations in history and was characterized by a party-like, family-friendly, peaceful atmosphere with bands, floats, kids in strollers, and people with dogs.
We on the move now, we're standing our ground. How long? Warriors truth been marching on. How long, not long. Warriors truth been marching on. How long, not long, how long.
Get the fuck out of here, corporation! Get the fuck out of here, Monsanto! Get the fuck out of here, Exxon! Get the fuck out of here! Get the fuck out of here, corporations! Get the fuck out of here, Halliburton! Get the fuck out of here!
Malibu!
Get the fuck out of here! Yeah, fuck those corporations!
The march attracted environmental climate leaders, former Vice President Al Gore, UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon, renowned biologist Jane Goodall, New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio, and Bill McKibben, co-founder of 350.org. A few notable politicians also marched: United States Senators Bernie Sanders of Vermont and Sheldon Whitehouse from Rhode Island, former U.S. Representative and presidential candidate Dennis Kucinich, and Green Party presidential candidate Jill Stein. Leonardo DiCaprio, recently appointed by Ban Ki-moon as the UN Special Messenger for Peace on Climate Issues, marched with recording artist Sting and fellow actor Mark Ruffalo. But mostly, this was a march made up of ordinary citizens and grassroots organizations, low-income and frontline communities impacted by climate change, such as indigenous people from the U.S. and the Amazon, the victims of Hurricanes Katrina and Sandy, and farmers and ranchers impacted by fracking. Frustrated by international inaction for 20 years on global warming, they marched through Midtown Manhattan with a message of alarm for world leaders set to gather the following week at the United Nations for a summit meeting on climate. The march was a demand by the people of the world for governments to act on the imminent dangers of climate change. The march demanded that the U.S. government stop wars for oil, redirect military spending to fund green jobs and sustainable infrastructure, stop the Keystone Pipeline project, fracking, and offshore drilling, move to abolish all nuclear weapons as required by the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, and stop blocking proposals for effective international action on climate put forth by developing countries. And we marched, faith groups, even people in wheelchairs identifying themselves as Crips for climate change. We marched past Times Square, New York landmarks, and the many high-end storefronts, banks, and corporate headquarters lining the route.
My name is Richard Santos. I'm from a rural part of Northeast Pennsylvania. I'm here because I think our economic system needs to change. The commons need to be preserved for all people and all living things. We need to change our economic system because our economic system is destroying the planet and making it not livable for life.
Where are you from?
Philadelphia.
What's your
Chapter
name?
31, Frank Polites.
Why'd you show up today?
Shop necessary to save the planet. It's not just humanity, it's all life on Earth. It's really, really serious.
Hi, I'm Marta. I'm from New Jersey. I'm here because we need to stand up and fight capitalism. We need to do something that our politicians are not doing and stopping the change in the climate.
We want to talk about how capitalism is killing the planet. We want to make the case for eco-socialism. New Yorkers, we need all of you out.
I talked with many New York police along the way, dressed in normal NYPD blue. No one was in riot gear, and none were carrying nightsticks. They all said that this was the largest march they had ever seen, and New York City has seen some pretty large events over the years, from victory parades to returning astronauts. New York City Fire Department was also there, along with New York City streets and sanitation crews picking up litter along the route, and nearly everyone carried a sign. There were as many signs as there were people, and most were of the homemade variety. The creativity and energy of the crowd was amazing. I had been feeling that the environmental and anti-war movements had run out of steam and that the youth of America were not getting it. But the energy of the people in New York and around the world gave me hope that the tipping point for system change just might be at hand.
My name is Kurama Matsuri Suleiman. I'm a member of the Communist Party of the United States of America. And you wanted to know why. I believe in people before profits, and I believe in Marxism and Leninism, and I believe in the liberation of the working class. And I feel that only by every individual worker having a right and power over his society, his destiny, his future, is the only way this planet can be saved.
Okay, my name is John Borkhardt. I'm from Long Island, Miller Place. I'm here to protest the actions against the planet. We need to stop adding carbon dioxide to our atmosphere and protect us from climate change. It could result in the end of humanity, and we need to protect ourselves. The capitalism, the socialism issue is that it's not profitable to protect us. It's more profitable to burn and create carbon dioxide in our atmosphere. And any action that's going to come against capitalist system has to come from the people, and we have to be motivated to stop the capitalist system.
The energy and enthusiasm could be seen all along the march route. Bands were playing and people were singing and dancing in the streets, everywhere.
My name is Lori Duhame. I'm from Connecticut, and I'm here to send a message to the world leaders that will be meeting on Tuesday at the UN Climate Summit. We're hoping that they can cause some momentum so that in Paris in 2015, when there's a conference there, some real change can be made, and that it can be made now. We can't wait. We need to decarbonize our energy systems, and I am also an educator, and children are very close to my heart. I'd like to see that change happen now before it's too late and they have no future.
Hi, my name is Nikki. I'm from New York City. I live in Brooklyn, and I'm here at the People's Climate March to send a message to the world that we as a movement are coming together and we want to do something about climate change for our future. There's so much I see being at risk. I've been able to snorkel in the Great Barrier Reef, for instance, and if I have children, they won't be able to snorkel in coral reefs. I see that as being like something that's going super fast. But ultimately, I think human life is at stake.
And then something eerie and profound happened. At precisely 12:58 p.m., the music, shouts, chants, dancing, and marching came to a halt. Silence was observed for 2 minutes, and then, all at once, at the stroke of 1 p.m., the marchers sounded the alarm with noisemakers and screams, whistles, and shouts for another 2 minutes. I've been in some pretty loud stadiums, but the noise in the streets of New York was deafening. It was one of the most incredible moments I have ever experienced. We were all raising our voices and yelling to the leaders of the world to do something before it was too late. veterans from World War II, Korea, Vietnam. All of the wars up to Iraq and Afghanistan marched together. Iraq and Afghanistan veterans against the war and the Veterans for Peace made the point that the U.S. military is the largest consumer of fossil fuels in the world and the biggest polluter.
We'll get them torn off forever. So there's something on.
Huge puppets and floats of all kinds added to the spectacle. There was a dancing Mother Earth, people riding bicycles decorated as fish, even a large cow that said, "I am full of greenhouse gas. Do you have a stake in it?" It was followed along by vegans, nearly naked except for their sandwich boards, explaining the environmental impact of domestic animals used for food. There was even a huge dinosaur bobbing up and down, reminding us that if we continue down this climate path, we too will become extinct. And then there was the giant carbon bubble, which the New York police did burst the following day at the massive protest against capitalism on Wall Street.
Yeah, Flood Wall Street. We're here to end the corruption and make a voice to shout out about the ending of corruption and capitalism and to care more about our environment. And that's why I'm here today. And I met all these nice people like him and all the other people that are here.
Hello, how are you? I'm from Mexico, but I live in DC. We are supporting the cause right here in New York. And we are we're supporting the climate change. Thank you.
Many of the marchers wore costumes and masks. There were two scary-looking death-like characters on stilts, two people in chicken outfits, and this insanely funny and animated old dude promoting his footmobile.
You need some action. Let's see what I'll tell you about. You got sound too, right? This is the vehicle of the future. It's the footmobile. Obviously, this footmobile can turn on a dime. Woo! And it can go from 0 to 3 miles an hour in one step. That's it. And there's no stopping it. As long as you keep feeding it food, as long as we can have the farmers grow food, this is we're all in one big mess. So we gotta drive somewhere to take these 1% billionaires and their 19% minions of cronies who are controlling everything, and we've gotta throw them over the edge into a vat of chocolate. And when they come out, maybe they'll be purified. But if they don't, we'll throw them back in again, pull them out, and put whipped cream on them. And after that, if they're not done right, we will just abandon them, isolate them, and move on our way. Because the people are speaking!
And another colorfully dressed old bearded man with a parrot greeting the marchers.
Look at you.
My name is Tanis Kowalchuk, and I'm the Artistic Director of NACL Theater, and I'm here with my project, a theater performance called The Weather Project, along with probably 20 other people who were a part of it. We made a play this summer about climate change, and we wanted to bring it here to this climate march.
Hi, my name is Sierra Thomas, and I'm from upstate New York. I'm here with The Weather Project, and we are here to promote community change, to really just change the way things are here, to promote real government action and change so we can save our world.
Even the raging grannies were here, singing and riding along in bicycle taxis.
No pipelines are gold. Keep our earth healthy and whole. So we come here to say, no tar sands, no way. Mother Earth still comes first in our land.
cheerleaders dancing to salsa music. A fellow with a flower crown and a peace sign seemed to be a big hit, and there were scores of people just chanting. There was a large contingent from Maine, some 500 plus. They were mostly concerned with issues such as tar sands oil passing through Casco Bay.
My name is Nicole Dontremont. I'm from Peaks Island, Maine, and I'm here because the Earth's house is burning. And we're here to speak to our leaders to stop it, to have actions instead of words. This sign says no tar sands in Casco Bay. I live in an island in Casco Bay. We've been fighting Enbridge coming in, taking tar sands from Montreal into our bay. So far we run an ordinance in South Portland and we're keeping them at bay, and we're hoping everyone in every community in this country and across the world stops the petroleum industry.
I'm Phyllis Coelho and I live in Belfast, Maine, and I'm here because I'm very, very concerned about climate change and what it means to us as a species and all the other species. And there was a wonderful article recently in this last month's edition of Audubon magazine indicating that over 300 species by the end of the century will be completely gone.
I'm Lynn Sudlow. I'm from Parsonsfield, Maine. I'm a member of the Sierra Club, and I think I'm just one of many people that are so frustrated with inaction, doing anything about the climate change that's affecting all of us.
There were huge banners and visuals claiming, "We know who is responsible." We marched and marched and marched. I kept asking New York police and security people, are we there yet? And how much further do we have to go?
My name's Kaya Redbonem. I'm from Wisconsin, Madison, and I'm here because I think that climate change is the most pressing issue we need to deal with. Otherwise, everything else that we love is going to slip away, so it's important to be here and send a message. We came on the People's Climate Train, which was a train going from west to east, coming from California. Got on it in Chicago, and we were on that about a day with a whole bunch of other people coming out to the Climate March, and it was great. We had teachings and a lot of activity, and just it was a great group of people, a great way to come to New York.
My name's Lori Lawrence. I'm here from Wichita, Kansas, the home of the Koch brothers. I've brought 75 others from Kansas, Missouri, Oklahoma, Nebraska, and Arkansas to be at the Climate March today to show our belief in the fact that the powers that be can change, and we are making them change by what we do here today and what we do at home every day. We came on one bus and two vans. It's about 25 hours to get here, so it was a really long drive. And then after this is over, our bus is parked down here, our vans are parked in New Jersey, and we are all going to meet back in Pennsylvania to head back home another 24 hours.
Hi, I'm Nora Brown, and this is George Brown, and I'm here because of the NACL Theater Company in Ulan, upstate New York. And we have a project called the Weather Project that was a big extravaganza on the 9th of August this year. And we're here to, as part of the fracking community. It's a huge community, as we know. And we're all here to march to keep our climate safe, to keep our planet safe, and to draw attention to the people who insist on making it unsafe.
At one point, we passed in front of the Trump International Hotel and Tower, a symbol of the 1%. I finally finished the march around 4:15 after marching and standing for more than 6 hours. But I passed hundreds of marchers, young and old. No one showed any exhaustion, except perhaps for me, and their spirit and energy was still as high as New York skyscrapers, knowing that they had just participated in the largest climate march in history, perhaps the largest march in history, period. And they were re-energized for the battles that lay ahead up to next year's climate summit in Paris, when the leaders of the world have perhaps their last chance to get it right to save the planet. The following day, Monday the 22nd, more than 2,000 people descended upon Wall Street to hold accountable the system of capitalism, which is at odds with the future of the planet, and the New York Stock Exchange, a symbol of the system causing the demise of the planet. This march on Wall Street was not permitted, and the marchers were cordoned off about a block away from the Stock Exchange. More than 100 people were arrested as they refused to disperse, including the polar bear, another symbol of a threatened species due to global warming and climate change.
Plantation. And we are all on it. Never forget. Never forget. Yes.
Right? I have contact lenses.
Yeah. Very good.
I can't open my eye.
Oh, sorry.
Now we turn to Chris Hedges, who offered an invitation to join the revolution to overturn the capitalist system and to reclaim our freedoms and our democracy.
As long as most citizens continue to give credibility to the ideas that justify global capitalism, our corporate masters will remain unassailable. It is our job not only to fight against this system of corporate power, but to shatter the ideology that holds it in place. And once this ideology is shattered, the institutions that buttress the ruling class will deflate and collapse. And it is this fundamental battle of ideas that I believe is now percolating below the surface. It is a battle the corporate state is steadily losing. An increasing number of Americans are getting it. They know we have been stripped of political power. They recognize that we have been shorn of our most basic and cherished civil liberties. They see that nearly half the country now lives in poverty or a category called near poverty. The tinder of revolt is piling up. No person or movement, no matter how hard they work, can finally trigger or ignite this revolt. No one knows where the eruption will take place. No one knows what form it will take. But I believe it is certain that popular revolt is coming. The refusal by the corporate state to address even the minimal grievances of the citizenry, the continued pillaging of the nation and the ecosystem, reminds us that, as Karl Marx observed, unfettered, unregulated capitalism is a revolutionary force. It commodifies everything. Human beings become commodities. The natural world becomes a commodity that it exploits until exhaustion or collapse. And this is why the economic crisis is intimately twinned with the environmental crisis. And once enough people get it, a process that can take years, the slow, quiet, and peaceful social evolution becomes quick, militant, and violent, as Alexander Berkman wrote. Evolution becomes revolution. And I believe this is where we are headed. I do not say this because I am a supporter of revolution. I am not. I prefer the piecemeal and incremental reforms of a functioning democracy. I prefer a system in which our social institutions permit the citizenry to nonviolently dismiss those in authority. I prefer a system in which institutions are independent, not captive to corporate power. But we do not live in such a system. Revolt is the only option left. Ruling elites, once the ideas that justify their existence are dead, can only resort to force. It is their final clutch at power. But if a nonviolent popular movement is able to ideologically educate the nation and finally the bureaucrats, civil servants, and even police, to get them in essence to defect, nonviolent revolutionary change is possible. We too, if we funnel our energy back into these institutions, will be powerless, for we have undergone a corporate coup d'etat in slow motion, and it is over. They've won. If we want to wrest power back, to make the consent of the governed more than an empty cliche, we will have to mobilize to carry out sustained acts of mass civil disobedience, to overthrow, let me repeat that word for the members of Homeland Security who might be visiting us this afternoon, overthrow the corporate state.
What do we want? Justice! What do we want? It now! What do we want? Justice! What do we want? It now!
I say revolution, you say nothing less. Revolution!
Nothing less!
Revolution!
Nothing less!
I say revolution, you say nothing less. Revolution!
Nothing less!
Revolution!
Nothing less!
Evo Morales, the president of Bolivia, attending the climate summit, delivered a scathing critique of President Obama and American foreign policy, speaking truth to power from South America, where they know well the consequences of American capitalism and militarism after 2 centuries of death, destruction, and plunder.
The capitalist system that Obama represents is not a policy that embodies the people of the United States, but a policy of the transnational corporations, especially of those who commercialize weapons and push for an arms race. This kind of intervention that the U.S. government provokes is a business to them, a business that ends people's lives. It doesn't save any lives, and that's the worst part. They use any pretext against the anti-imperialist countries to subdue and dominate them politically and rob them economically.
During his interview with RT, President Morales called America's beloved capitalist system the greatest threat to indigenous movements around the world.
Nuevamente vuelvo a decir, ¿qué quieren ellos?
Again, I should mention, what do they want? The U.S. They want to take any pretext, any element to dominate us politically, and then rob us economically. They are after our natural resources. They try to dominate and have the control over the army, control over the world in order to maintain political power.
While Mr. Morales applauds the UN Charter and the international institution overall, he specifically denounces the Security Council as an exclusive 15-member group that he says causes more harm than good.
Yo no creo en Consejo de Seguridad.
I don't believe in the Security Council. For me, the Security Council remains a council of insecurity for humanity. I believe the Security Council continues to be an instrument for the organization of the United Nations, one with the autonomy of decisions. And although we salute China's and Russia's position, the Council still acts under the power of imperialism and capitalism, without taking into consideration the decisions of the United Nations. The best we could do is to end the Security Council.
And Bishop Desmond Tutu offered a moving and ominous warning to world leaders.
The destruction of the Earth's environment is the human rights challenge of our time. Over the 25 years that climate change has been on the world's agenda, global emissions have risen unchecked, while real-world impacts have taken hold in earnest. Time is running out. We are already experiencing loss of life and livelihood because of intensified storms, shortage of fresh water, spread of disease, rising food prices, and the creation of climate refugees. The most devastating effects are visited on the poor, those with no involvement in creating the problem, a deep injustice. Just as we argued in the 1980s that those who conducted business with apartheid South Africa were aiding and abetting an immoral system, today we say nobody should profit from the rising temperatures, seas, and human suffering caused by the burning of fossil fuels. We can no longer continue feeding our addiction to fossil fuels as if there is no tomorrow, for there will be no tomorrow. We are on the cusp of a global transition to a new, safe energy economy. We must support our leaders to make the correct moral choices. Freeze further exploration for new fossil sources. We cannot maintain a livable temperature and climate for humanity if we burn more than a fraction of the fossil fuels already discovered. Hold those responsible for climate damages accountable. Change the profit incentive by demanding legal liability for unsustainable environmental practices. Encourage governments to stop accepting funding from the fossil fuel industry that blocks action on climate change. Divest from fossil fuels and invest in a clean energy future. Move your money out of the problem and into solutions. There is a word we use in South Africa that describes human relationships. Ubuntu. It says, I am because you are. My success and my failures are bound up in yours. We are made for each other, part of one family, the human family, with one shared earth. God bless you.
Leonardo DiCaprio, appointed by Ban Ki-moon as the UN Special Messenger for Peace on climate issues, told those gathered at the UN that history would judge them if they did not act.
I stand before you not as an expert, but as a concerned citizen, one of the 400,000 people who marched in the streets of New York on Sunday, and the billions of others around the world who want to solve our climate crisis. As an actor, I pretend for a living. I play fictitious characters, often solving fictitious problems. I believe that mankind has looked at climate change in that same way, as if it were a fiction, as if pretending that climate change wasn't real would somehow make it go away. But I think we all know better than that now. Every week we're seeing new and undeniable climate events, evidence that accelerated climate change is here right now. Droughts are intensifying, our oceans are acidifying, with methane plumes rising up from the ocean floor. We are seeing extreme weather events and the West Antarctic and Greenland ice sheets melting at unprecedented rates, decades ahead of scientific projections. None of this is rhetoric, and none of it is hysteria. It is fact. The scientific community knows it, industry knows it, governments know it, even the United States military knows it. The chief of the U.S. Navy's Pacific Command, Admiral Samuel Locklear, recently said that climate change is our single greatest security threat. My friends, this body, perhaps more than any other gathering in human history, now faces this difficult but achievable task. You can make history, or you will be vilified by it. To be clear, this is not about just telling people to change their light bulbs or to buy a hybrid car. This disaster has grown beyond the choices that individuals make. This is now about our industries and our governments around the world taking decisive, large-scale action. Now must be our moment for action. We need to put a price tag on carbon emissions and eliminate government subsidies for oil, coal, and gas companies. We need to end the free ride that industrial polluters have been given in the name of a free market economy. They do not deserve our tax dollars. They deserve our scrutiny, for the economy itself will die if our ecosystems collapse. The good news is that renewable energy is not only achievable, but good economic policy. This is not a partisan debate, it is a human one. Clean air and a livable climate are inalienable human rights. And solving this crisis is not a question of politics, it is a question of our own survival. This is the most urgent of times and the most urgent of messages. Honored delegates, leaders of the world, I pretend for a living, but you do not. The people made their voices heard on Sunday around the world, and the momentum will not stop. But now it is your turn. The time to answer humankind's greatest challenge is now. We beg of you to face it with courage and honesty. Thank you.
And finally, the most moving and heartfelt message of all came from Marshall Islander Kathy Jetnil Kittinger, a poet, mother, and wife, pleading to the leaders of the world to let them and their children live.
Yahweh Gomolib. My family and I have traveled a long way to be here today, all the way from the Marshall Islands. The Marshall Islands encompasses more than 2 million square kilometers of ocean, and so it makes sense that our culture is one of voyaging and navigation. One of our most beloved legends features a canoe race between 10 brothers. Their mother, holding a heavy bundle, begged each of her sons for a ride on their canoe. But only the youngest listened and took her along for the ride, not knowing that his mother was carrying the first sail. With the sail, he won the race and became chief. The moral of the story is to honor your mother and the challenges life brings. Climate change is a challenge that few want to take on, but the price of inaction is so high. Those of us from Oceania are already experiencing it firsthand. We've seen waves crashing into our homes and our breadfruit trees wither from the salt and drought. We look at our children and wonder how they will know themselves or their culture should we lose our islands. Climate change affects not only us islanders, it threatens the entire world. To tackle it, we need a radical change of course. This isn't easy, I know. It means ending carbon pollution within my lifetime. It means supporting those of us most affected to prepare for unavoidable climate impacts. And it means taking responsibility for irreversible loss and damage caused by greenhouse gas emissions. The people who support this movement are Indigenous mothers like me, families like mine, and millions more, standing up for the changes needed and working to make them happen. I ask world leaders to take us all along on your ride. We won't slow you down. We'll help you win the most important race of all, the race to save humanity. I would now like to share with you a poem that I have written for my daughter, Matafele Behnam. Dear Matafele Behnam, you are a 7-month-old sunrise of gummy smiles. You are bald as an egg and bald as the Buddha. You are thighs that are thunder, shrieks that are lightning, so excited for bananas, hugs, and our morning walks along the lagoon. Dear Matafele Behnam, I want to tell you about that lagoon, that lazy lounging lagoon, lounging against the sunrise. Men say that one day that lagoon will devour you. They say it will gnaw at the shoreline, chew at the roots of your breadfruit trees, gulp down rows of seawalls, and crunch through your island's shattered bones. They say you, your daughter, and your granddaughter too, will wander, rootless, with only a passport to call home. Dear Matafele Behnam, don't cry. Mommy promises you, no one will come and devour you. No greedy whale of a company sharking through political seas. No backwater bullying of businesses with broken morals. No blindfolded bureaucracies gonna push this mother ocean over the edge. No one's drowning, baby. No one's moving. No one's losing their homeland. No one's becoming a climate change refugee. Or should I say, no one else. To the Carteret Islanders of Papua New Guinea and to the Taro Islanders of Fiji, I take this moment to apologize to you. We are drawing the line here because we, baby, are going to fight. Your mommy, daddy, boo-boo, Jima, your country, and your president too, we will all fight. And even though there are those hidden behind platinum titles who like to pretend that we don't exist, who like to pretend that the Marshall Islands, Tuvalu, Kiribati, Maldives, Typhoon Haiyan in the Philippines, floods of Algeria, Colombia, Pakistan, and all the hurricanes, earthquakes, and tidal waves didn't exist? Still, there are those who see us, hands reaching out, fists raising up, banners unfurling, megaphones booming, and we are canoes blocking coast ships. We are the radiance of solar villages. We are the fresh, clean soil of the farmers' past. We are teenagers blooming petitions. We are families biking, recycling, reusing, engineers building, dreaming, designing, artists painting, dancing, writing, and we are spreading the word. And there are thousands out on the streets marching hand in hand, chanting for change now. And they're marching for you, baby. They're marching for us because we deserve to do more than just survive. We deserve to thrive. Dear Matafele Behnam, you are eyes heavy with drowsy weight. So just close those eyes and sleep in peace because we won't let you down. You'll see.
But the marchers were not just speaking to the investment brokers on Wall Street, they were sending a message to the millions of individual investors, churches, government retirement funds, and colleges to divest from fossil fuels and to invest in green, renewable technologies now. But make no mistake, the message of the 300 to 400,000 marchers on Sunday in New York City and the millions of people around the world did not end on Sunday. While the atmosphere was jovial and upbeat, anger and frustration was present everywhere. The warning to the world leaders was clear: lead or get out of the way.